Lose yourself tonight. Let the beauty set you free. Let the music set you free. Oh yeah. Take a break from life. Won't you come and spend some time?
Hi, I'm Mariann Johansen-Ellis, and you are very welcome back to my studio in Spain for the second part in our three-part series about basic etching. In the first part, we put the simple line etching onto the plate, and we pulled 3 proofs. I like to pull a couple of proofs so you have a little bit to play around with. In the second part, I'm going to show you how you apply soft ground and you enhance the plate with an impressed feather into that soft ground. Now, soft ground is really hard ground with a bit of petroleum jelly or tallow added to it so it doesn't dry. Because it stays open or not dry, you can make impressions in it. You have to be a little bit quick. You can't let the ground dry too much. See, when they say the soft ground doesn't dry, that's actually not completely true, because it does dry to the extent that it becomes more and more difficult to make a good impression in it. So there is a bit of judgment, and there is quite a lot of trial and error involved in this. I have some feathers that I get from a friend of mine. So I have quite a bit to choose from, and you're going to find if you try making impressions with a feather that different feathers give you very, very different results. So on your country walks or city walks for that matter, pick up any feather that you see, because you might think that this is not going to work, but you never know. Some of the weird feathers give a better impression than nice pigeon feathers, for example, that are really tricky to get a good impression from. I've already chosen a feather that's going to go more or less, seeing that we're not exactly talking 3 dimensions, it's going to go more or less there in her hat. Okay, let's move on to the practical. I'm going to take you through to the print room, because it's nicer to be closer to the press when you do the soft ground. I use, to apply the ground, a soft brush. I have my feather handy ready. Please note when you use feathers that you see a lot of them have fluff on them, okay? What I do is I just strip that right off, okay? And you can use all kinds of feather shapes. You can also make them do things for you. You see, you can split it up, and you can get all kinds of looks that will be more relevant to what you're doing. Anyway, the soft ground, I've stirred it up. Don't get confused by all my various jars and stuff. It's really just that a lot of these things come in quite silly containers that it's difficult to clean up. You want the ground to be nice and even, and you apply it to a degreased plate. You can see how you degrease a plate in the first film about the basic line etching. However, you don't have to be that conscientious about cleaning, as there is already grease in the ground. Put the brush in a bit of turpentine. I always clean off the edges of the glass that I keep the soft ground in, or you won't be able to remove the top once it dries in. Now this is where the judgment comes in. How long do you wait for the soft ground to dry? And I always kind of think, well, not very long. I find that it's easier to get a good impression whilst the ground is relatively wet. But you can see how shiny it is, that it is still a little bit too wet. It's almost impossible to give you a time or anything like that, because it depends if it's summer or winter, on ambient temperature, humidity, all kinds of things. So you simply have to keep on looking at it. You see how it's starting to go matte here now, which is that it is drying up. So I'm going to take my plate and my feather over to the press, and I'm going to put the feather on when I've put the plate in position. So I'm going to come across with my plate and I'm going to place it on a piece of newspaper. I put my feather in place where I want it, and I put a piece of newspaper on top so I don't make a mess out of my blankets. Most etching books will tell you to use wax paper or such, but I've actually found it doesn't make much of a difference what you use. It all adheres. I use normal pressure to put it through the press, and if you come a bit closer, I take off the newspaper, and as you can see it does stick to the soft ground, but that's not a problem because we're going to stop it out, and I very carefully lift my feather off. Now what you don't know is that this is actually the third time we've done this, and this one looks pretty good. I got a nice feather going here. Here is my feather, and I'm now going to take the plate back into the studio, and I'm going to stop out everything around in preparation for putting it in the acid. We've moved back into the studio, and I'm now going to start stopping out all the areas around my feather. I use ground as a stop out because it dries very quickly. And in printmaking, when we say stopping out, what we're actually talking about is blocking out all the areas that you don't want acid to be able to get into. Stopping out around the feather can be very, very fiddly work. So, hey, I'm with my glasses and my enlarger and everything, and there's just no way around it. Fiddly it is, but well worth the bother. This is without a doubt very, very fiddly work, and you most of the time end up having to use a very, very fine brush. Think about when you stop out a feather, that if you look at the feather in nature, there just is no straight line. So you do want to try and get a very, very natural line to it. Okay, so I've done my detail work with the small brush, and all I want to do now is I just want to stop out the rest of the plate, so switch to a bit of a bigger brush. So I've stopped the whole plate out. See, I've covered everything around the feather. Only the feather now is open to the acid. So I'm going to go and have a bit of lunch and leave this to dry. And when we come back, we're going to put it in the acid.
Oh yeah, take a break from life. Won't you come and spend some